listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Jim Michaely, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the January 6th, 2026 issue of the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. From page 1, cover story says, Brick leads Board of Supervisors. Longtime Town of Perry supervisor elected at Friday meeting. Warsaw. James Brick has been elected chairman of the Wyoming County Board of Supervisors. Brick 76 was elected Friday during the board's annual organizational meeting. He replaces former chairwoman Rebecca Ryan, who did not seek re-election this past November as Warsaw Town Supervisor. He will serve a one-year term as chairman. Brick, a Republican, has been Town of Perry Supervisor since 2006. He's a longtime farmer who has also served in numerous other leadership and service roles. His previous duties have also included serving on the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Wyoming County Board, along with more than 55 years with the Perry Center Fire Department. Brick had previously served several terms as vice chairman. Supervisor Susan May of Orangeville was elected as vice chairwoman. She's also a Republican and has been supervisor since 2013. The annual organizational meeting helps set up Wyoming County's direction for the coming year. In other action, Cheryl Ketchum was elected to a one-year term as board clerk. The supervisors were issued their oaths of office. New supervisors Mark Pryor of Bennington and Steve Perkins of Warsaw were also formally seated. Oaths of office were administered to County Clerk Gina Skidmore and County Coroners William Lemke and Mike Smith. Budget Officer Janice Cook of Warsaw was reappointed to a two-year term effective January 1st, 2026. Jennifer M. Wilkinson of Attica was reappointed to a one-year term effective January 1st, 2026. End of story. Also on the front page, fire destroys Alabama house. No injuries reported in Saturday blaze. Alabama. Fire destroyed a Council House Road residence Saturday morning, but the man living there was not there at the time, an Alabama Assistant Chief said at the scene. Alabama Volunteer Fire Department Second Assistant Chief John Summers said one firefighter suffered some fatigue. He was checked out by Mercy Ambulance and was fine and stayed on scene. Firefighters from several companies responded to 274 Council House Road. The resident was not here and the dog was out as well, Summers said. It was already outside. Summers said the residence is a total loss. We had flames coming out of the roof and all the walls upon the chief's arrival, he said. We were more of a defensive attack at that point. Firefighters were looking for hot spots and putting them out around 11:45 or noon. We did have 6 departments come in mutual aid as well as Mercy Ambulance. We had Oakfield, Pembroke, Corfu, Darien, Shelby, and City of Batavia fast team, he said. Genesee County Office of Emergency Management was investigating the cause and origin of Saturday morning's fire. The assistant chief said as far as he knows, the Red Cross was not called to assist the man who lived there. His family has been here, so he's going to be with them, Summers said. Here's a story titled, Hochul Signs More Bills into Law as Year Ends. Governor Kathleen C. Hochul has moved to approve some of the year's most impactful pieces of legislation in the last few days, clearing her desk of the last of hundreds of bills handed to her by the state legislature. Each year, Hochul has until the end of the year to approve, veto, or negotiate changes to all the bills that the state legislature sends her way. While the legislature has the power to force action on its own schedule, leaders have typically agreed to wait for the governor's office to request the bills themselves. The governor often waits for their team to review a bill before calling for it. and that often takes longer for controversial or legally complex bills that aren't a part of the governor's agenda. In the last few weeks of 2025, Hochul has moved to approve, amend, or veto hundreds of the more than 850 bills sent her way this year. On December 19, 2025, Hochul approved dozens of major bills that have gotten significant attention this year. Hochul negotiated some changes and signed a prison reform package that addresses 10 key issues in state prisons and local jails. The package includes that the State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision implement a wider network of cameras and microphones in its prisons, share video footage related to deaths inside prisons with the State Attorney General's office within 72 hours of a death, make a public notification within 48 hours of notifying the next of kin when someone in prison dies, and requires the department to conduct a study on deaths over the last 10 years. The package also increases the number of commissioners on the State Commission of Corrections, the oft-criticized board tasked with keeping a guardrail on the state prison system. The commission will now have 2 extra part-time members, with at least 1 member being someone who has served a sentence in a New York State prison. The reform package also gives the Corrections Association of New York wider access to state prisons and opens a pathway for more people to privately speak with the association. CANY is an independent oversight group with the power to enter prisons and interview staff, officials, and incarcerated people. Hochul also signed a bill that ends the 100-foot rule, an often discussed state regulation that allows natural gas utilities to tack on the cost of connecting a new customer to all existing gas customers within 100 feet of the new hookup. That bill is cited as one of many state regulations that unfairly propped up the natural gas industry, in opposition to state efforts to electrify and phase out fossil fuel use where possible. The 100-foot rule bill was the only successful anti-natural gas bill to make it out of the state legislature this year. Lawmakers had debated the much more radical New York Heat Act, which would have worked to phase out natural gas by actively removing natural gas networks based on a neighborhood vote system. That bill was killed in the state assembly, and despite efforts to revise a smaller version of it, lawmakers still couldn't agree on concrete efforts to shrink the footprint of the second most popular heating and cooking fuel source in New York. Hochul also signed, with some changes, the RAISE Act, which establishes a broad set of safety standards for advanced generative artificial intelligence models operating in the state. She negotiated amendments that pared back some of the requirements, essentially matching New York's laws with those already in place in California. The RAISE Act requires that big and small models alike implement an incident reporting system for when their models go wrong or potentially cause damage or pose danger. Risk assessment plans and fines for violation of state regulations are also now in place, and any safety incident must be reported within 72 hours of discovery. The State Department of Financial Services also gets a new office aimed at tracking transparency and safety in generative intelligence models. The move comes just as President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order that seeks to strip states of existing AI regulations and block them from implementing new ones. That order is already being challenged in court. Hochul signed a bill that requires hospitals implement domestic violence prevention programs, and another that requires all workplaces regulated by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration to carry naloxone, or another opioid antagonist, to reverse overdoses in their first aid supplies. The governor's most recent round of vetoes include a bill that would force limited liability companies to make public their owners' names, as well as a number of bills to provide state or local government employees with enhanced retirement benefits. Hochul said in a joint veto message for more than a dozen Assembly and Senate bills relating to employee benefits that the total cost would be nearly $350 million to state and local governments, all without a specific plan for funding. Hochul Hochul also vetoed a bill, which she has struck down once before when it made it to her desk, that would push the time frame within which a local hospital can close a ward or its entire facility to nearly 9 months. Current law only requires 90 days of notice to state officials. Hochul noted that the bill would be a burden to financially struggling hospitals if they have to make short-term adjustments to their operations. But the governor said she had directed the State Department of Health to consider reforms to the hospital closure process within the existing power they have. She said that process concluded with adjustments this month. The department now requires early and consistent communication from hospital administration whenever they even start to consider closing a ward or a facility, permanently or temporarily. And Hochul also vetoed a bill that would bar Medicaid from requiring prior authorization for HIV medications before covering the cost of them. In her veto message, Hochul said the bill, while well-intentioned, would only throw out an already efficient system where prescriptions are evaluated, and only when it seems like the drug won't work with the patient's, when the patient's needs through Medicaid request prior authorization. Medicaid has a prior authorization program that operates on a 24/7 basis, maintains a 24-hour turnaround time for authorization determinations, and allows for a 72-hour emergency supply, Hochul said. This bill would eliminate those critical patient safety protections and would not improve an already successful and efficient process. This is an obituary for John M. Ferrara. Rochester, John M. Ferrara, age 62, formerly of Leroy and La Honda, California, passed away on Wednesday, December 31st, 2025, at Highland Hospital in Rochester. He was born January 31st, 1963, in Batavia, a son of Orazio Roxy and Josephine Costa Ferrara. John was a 1981 graduate of Leroy High School and went on to Alfred Tech, graduating in 1983. He worked construction around the Leroy area, expanding into the Rochester area, and eventually settled in California, where he specialized in custom carpentry on high-end homes. Being a true craftsman, John did custom lathe work, making bowls and candle holders that he gave away to family and friends. John had a very adventurous spirit and a love for the outdoors. He enjoyed hiking, mountain biking, kayaking, music, and traveling to concerts, and especially loved visiting many of the U.S. national parks throughout the western half of the United States. He will be sadly missed by his father and mother, Roxy and Josephine Ferrara, his siblings Barbara Taylor, David Ferrara, and Daniel Ferrara, his nieces and nephew Nicole Taylor, Lindsay Becker, Savannah Ferrara, Eliana Ferrara, Madison Ferrara, and Mason Ferrara, his great-nephew Bennett Becker, along with many loving friends. Family and friends are invited to attend his rite of Christian burial on Friday, January 9th at 11 a.m. at Our Lady of Mercy Parish, St. Peter's Church, 44 Lake Street, Leroy. The courtesy of No Flowers is requested, with contributions in memory of John going to La Honda Educational Foundation, P.O. Box 225, La Honda, California, 94020, www.lahondakids.org/donate. Your memories and condolences may be shared with John's family at www.falconefuneralhome.com. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. On page 2, this is a story headlined, Harvester to Return to Court. Update on cleanup slated for Monday. Batavia. The City of Batavia and an attorney for the Harvester Center are scheduled to be back in City Housing Court at 1:30 p.m. Monday for a report on cleanup at the site, located between Harvester Avenue, the railroad tracks, and Massey Place. The cleanup followed demolition of some of the buildings. Defense Counsel requested adjournment to January 12, 2026 for a status update regarding debris removal. said City Code Enforcement Officer Doug Randall. He said 4 buildings located along the railroad tracks have been demolished. 5 buildings between the railroad tracks and a driveway off of Harvester Avenue have also been demolished, along with a northwest bridge and the elevator tower in the southeast corner of the campus. Randall said the City Bureau of Inspections is not aware of a redevelopment plan for the campus. The property was sold to the Amerinac Holding Corp. Of Bensalem, Pennsylvania, about 4 years ago. Michael Cole, attorney for the property's owner, could not be reached for comment on the progress of debris cleanup at the Harvester campus, or on details of any proposed redevelopment of the campus. Asked which numbered buildings are not being demolished, Randall said, "Demolition permits have not been requested for buildings 1, 12, 30, 2, 29, 19, 18, 14, 27, and the westernmost portion of Building 20. Building 1 is located along Harvester Avenue, and buildings 12, 30, 2, 29, and 19 are right behind it to the west. Buildings 18, 14, and 27 are located further west toward the middle of the campus. The Harvester Center is the site of the city's former Massey Harris Ferguson factory that closed in 1958. The sprawling complex of more than 29 acres became the Batavia Industrial Center, the world's first business incubator, in 1959. Tenants at the location were informed last May that their leases at the complex were being terminated in June. Ricky Palermo Foundation gives $12K to UMMC. Annual donation to support the hospital's patient care. Batavia. Rochester Regional Health United Memorial Medical Center has an additional $12,000 to use to support patient care, thanks to a December donation from the Ricky Palermo Foundation. United Memorial Medical Center was honored to receive a $12,000 gift from Ricky Palermo and the Ricky Palermo Foundation. United Memorial Medical Center Development Officer Katie Hobbs said Monday in a press release. Hospital President Jill Graziano accepted the donation. For 29 years, the Ricky Palermo Foundation has raised and donated more than $2 million to organizations dedicated to healing, rehabilitation, and hope. We are deeply grateful to be one of the Foundation's long-standing beneficiaries and to share in its mission of improving lives through sustained community support, Hobbs said in the announcement. This gift reflects the Foundation's continued commitment to patients and families served by UMMC and the strength of long-term partnerships that make a meaningful difference close to home. All proceeds from the Foundation continue to benefit United Memorial Medical Center, Strong Memorial Hospital, Spinal Wing, Batavia YMCA, FES Bike Program, and the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis. As the Foundation looks ahead to an exciting 30th year, we extend our sincere thanks to Ricky Palermo and all who support this incredible legacy of giving, Hobbs said in the release. From the local news section, welfare check results in DWI charges. Pike. What began as a possible medical emergency ended with an aggravated DWI charge for a Wisconsin man. Wyoming County Sheriff's deputies were requested Sunday to check a person possibly experiencing a medical issue in a vehicle stopped roadside near East Park Road in Castile. Deputies were informed en route that the man had been picked up by a family member and taken to the Pike area. It was also reported the man appeared intoxicated. Stephen F. Boyd, 56, of Mosinee, Wisconsin, was later located in a Pike residence. He allegedly appeared to be intoxicated and admitted driving the vehicle and drinking alcohol earlier in the day. Further investigation revealed Boyd's blood alcohol content was more than 0.18%, deputies said. Boyd was charged with aggravated DWI and DWI. He is to appear in Castile Town Court at a later date. Winning Take 5 ticket sold in Fillmore. Fillmore, A top prize winning Take 5 evening ticket was sold Friday at an area convenience store. The ticket was sold at Hanson Farms on 10 West Main Street. It's worth $35,431. Take 5 numbers are drawn from a field of 1 through 39. The drawing is televised twice daily at 2:30 and 10:30 p.m. A lottery draw game prize of any amount may be claimed up to 1 year from the date of the drawing. Disaster preparedness class set in Warsaw. Warsaw. Registration is underway for a free NY Citizen Preparedness Training Program class. The class is set for 3 p.m. January 28th at the Ag and Business Center on 36 Center Street. The NY Citizen Preparedness Training Program teaches residents to have the tools and resources to prepare for any type of disaster, respond accordingly, and recover as quickly as possible to normal conditions. The class will provide an introduction to responding to a natural or man-made disaster. Participants will be advised on how to properly prepare for any disaster, including developing a family emergency plan and more. Each family attending will receive a preparedness kit. Check www.prepare.ny.gov to register. Orleans celebrates MAP grads. Program assists up-and-coming area entrepreneurs. Albion. Enrollment is approaching for the Orleans County Local Development Corporation's latest Micro-Enterprise Assistance Program class. The program celebrates the graduation of 9 entrepreneurs from its fall 2025 Micro-Enterprise Assistance Program on October 30th, marking another successful cohort in the program's 26-year history of fostering small businesses in rural Western New York, officials said in a news release. The graduating class represents a diverse cross-section of Orleans County's entrepreneurial landscape, spanning industries including landscaping, property maintenance, welding and fabrication arts, professional dog training, hospitality and tourism, massage therapy, specialty food production, and 3D design services, officials said. The fall 2025 MAP graduates included Michael Hewson, certified dog trainer, Peter Poudry and Kim Poudry, Riverview Campground, Carolyn Odolovic, 3D inspirational designs, Dawn Hungerford, dust and rust fabrication, Maggie Oles, Longbridge Greenery, Becky Harris, Confection Connection, Stacy Buckland, massage therapist, Kimberly Haight and Timothy Siebert, Orleans Heating, Cooling, and Property Maintenance. This was an excellent mix of different types of businesses at varying levels of experience, which always makes for interesting course discussions and learning experiences. MAP Program Manager Matt Holland said, "I am excited to watch these businesses develop into their next phases." The comprehensive 10-week program provides participants with essential business education, covering accounting fundamentals, banking relationships, business plan development, marketing strategies, legal requirements, taxation, pricing strategies, and financial management. Expert instruction is delivered by seasoned professionals from the Small Business Development Centers in Niagara and Brockport, along with local business mentors. By program completion, each participant develops a comprehensive business plan that serves as a roadmap for growth and a critical document for assessing capital. Graduating from MAP is a prerequisite for applying to the OCLDC Micro-Enterprise Grant Program, which awards between $10,000 and $35,000 to qualifying Orleans County-based entrepreneurs. Since its establishment in 1999, the Orleans County MAP has graduated over 570 individuals, with more than 200 successfully launching businesses throughout the county. The program is funded through a combination of New York State Community Development Block Grant Funds and OCLDC resources. reflecting a commitment to building sustainable economic opportunities in rural communities, officials said. The initiative addresses a critical need for entrepreneurial support in communities under 50,000 population, providing access to business education, technical assistance, and capital resources that are often unavailable in rural areas. The program specifically supports micro-enterprises, businesses with 5 or fewer employees, which form the backbone of the local economy. The next MAP cohort will begin in April, with applications opening in mid-February. The course fee is $300, with financial aid available for qualifying applicants based on demonstrated need. Prospective entrepreneurs at least 18 years old who maintain a permanent residence or business in Orleans County are encouraged to apply. Applications will be available in early 2026. For more information about the Micro Enterprise Assistance Program, grant eligibility requirements, or to schedule an informational interview, contact Matt Holland at mholland@orleansdevelopment.org or call 585-589-7060, extension 1. In the opinion section of the paper, here's an editorial titled Another View, The Good, the Bad, and Venezuela. The following editorial is from the Chicago Tribune. No sooner had the new year dawned than President Donald Trump introduced a new level of stress to the world, grabbing the leader of a sovereign nation without congressional approval, hauling Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, off to a New York jail cell, and installing Secretary of State Marco Rubio as the de facto viceroy of Venezuela, all while trapping well-heeled American elites on Caribbean beaches as weekend return-to-work flights from the region were nixed by the Federal Aviation Administration, citing safety concerns. What a year, and it's only January 5. Predictably, America's left-wing mayors howled in protest at the weekend actions. New York's Zohran Mamdani expressed concern for the Venezuelans in New York and accused Trump of violating international law. Mamdani let it be known he had called Trump to register his opposition to this action, the honeymoon between these two men apparently having come to a swift conclusion. That was, of course, purely a performative act, as was the Chicago Teachers Union Stop the Bombings rally, with various socialist co-sponsors and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson's statement that the illegal actions by the Trump administration have nothing to do with defending the Venezuelan people. They are solely about oil and power. The problem the socialist mayors faced immediately was that many of the Venezuelans they claimed to be defending looked pretty happy to see the former bus driver and union leader go, not least because of the illegitimacy of his election in the first place, not to mention his presiding over a corrupt government known for its human rights abuses and diminishment of press freedoms. All that and grinding poverty too. No wonder there was dancing in the streets and talk of a free Venezuela. Moreover, it looks pretty clear that Trump's notably clean removal operation was something of an inside job. The Miami Herald reported that the Venezuelan vice president and supposed Maduro loyalist, Delcy Rodriguez, had reached out, so to speak, to the Trump administration, suggesting she might just be a more acceptable leader when it comes to U.S. interests. Reportedly, there were secret talks holding Qatar, with a member of the UAE's ruling royal family in the room, along with Rodriguez's brother. One can assume the U.S. interest in Rodriguez, at least in the short term, was to have someone in power who could manage the transition without totally blowing up and rebuilding Venezuela, not to mention getting more useful information on the seemingly nonchalant but actually increasingly paranoid Maduro's whereabouts. She's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again, Trump told reporters of Rodriguez. Translation, she will do what we want because she knows who is in charge. Rodriguez, however, is already showing signs that she won't be so easily controlled. Purely observationally, the events in Caracas offer yet another lamentable reminder of how much the liberal old world order has disintegrated in the age of Trump and Putin. We now live on a planet dominated by raw, authoritarian, executive, centralized power, with subnational figures like mayors, not to mention mayors of the U.S. Congress and European leaders, all reduced to bleating inconsequentially on the sidelines. Simply put, Maduro was deemed by Trump to be incompatible with U.S. interests, which naturally includes the extraction of oil and the disruption of the supply of illegal drugs. So the administration simply unleashed the power of the U.S. military to go in and remove him. This will appeal to those who believe in American exceptionalism. There are similarities with Trump's interventionist plan for a Gaza more aligned with U.S. and Israeli and UAE interests. Tacitly, the action sends a message to other nations with similarly incompatible governments that the U.S. won't hesitate to take invasive action. How one feels depends really on how benign one feels U.S. interests to be, globally speaking. If that were not enough, Trump openly stated a desire now to run a sovereign nation of some 28 million people, although Rubio walked that back some on Sunday morning. Aside from being yet another example of Trump's inconsistency, seemingly going from isolationist to interventionist over the Mar-a-Lago holiday buffets, any such running requires a confidence in the wildly impulsive Trump that we simply do not have, and nor should those who won't miss the Venezuelan status quo. Congressional approval for this kind of action exists for good reasons, including the need for a clear plan for the aftermath. We don't lament Maduro's exit for a moment, and will even allow that the removal action, if those are the right words, was impressive and reasonably light on collateral damage, although some 40 lives were lost. But the consequences likely will extend far into the future and far beyond Venezuela. What moral authority does the U.S. now have if, say, China removes the Taiwanese leadership, deeming it incompatible with Chinese interests? Not much. And this action surely weakens the moral argument against Vladimir Putin, though Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is now hoping Russia's leader is the next authoritarian Trump takes out. Howling in protest does little, of course. Elections have consequences. Maduro is gone from Venezuela and he will not be missed. We will have more to say as events unfold, but at this juncture, we urge the Trump administration to stop this hubristic talk of running things, involve the U.S. Congress in its plans for the future of Venezuela, and focus on empowering the Venezuelan people and their democratically elected leaders. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. In the Farm and Garden section on page 5 of the paper, here's a piece titled, Enter the Year of the Ficus. National Garden Bureau selects South Asian genus for 2026. It's by Master Gardener Jan Beglinger. Every year, the National Garden Bureau selects one perennial, one annual, one bulb, one houseplant, one shrub, and one edible as their Year of the Plant designations. Plants are chosen based on their ease of growth, versatility, popularity, adaptability, and genetic diversity. This year, ficus has been given top honors in the houseplant division. Ficus is a large genus with over 800 species of trees, shrubs, and vines. The fig tree, Ficus carica, is a well-known member that has edible fruit. There are many ornamental varieties of ficus that do well as houseplants, minus fruit. They come in a variety of sizes, colors, and growth habits. The majority of ficus plants are found in the tropical and subtropical parts of the world, like India and Southeast Asia. Banyan tree. The banyan tree, Ficus bengalensis, is the national tree of India. It is known for its distinctive aerial roots, which grow down from branches and form trunks. This allows the tree to spread out, covering a large area by a single tree. Culturally important, the banyan tree often serves as a place of worship or meeting place. It represents life, fertility, immortality, and resurrection in Indian religions. It also serves as a keystone species, being a source of food and shelter for many animals in those ecosystems where it is native. It also helps stabilize the soil, preventing soil erosion. The weeping fig, Ficus benjamina, is the classic example of a ficus houseplant. If grown outside in its native environment, it can reach close to 100 feet tall. Inside its size will be determined by the container you plant it in, but it can reach 8 feet. It has a graceful growing habit and dark green evergreen leaves. There are some variegated varieties that have leaves edged in cream, white, or yellow. You may be able to find a variety that is more compact, or even a dwarf, such as this variety, Too Little, that can be trained into a bonsai tree. Indian rubber trees. India rubber trees, Ficus elastica, are considered to be a good houseplant for beginners as they are relatively easy to take care of. Native to Southeast Asia, rubber trees are a broadleaf evergreen with large, leathery, dark green leaves. They can grow 50 to 100 feet tall in their native environment and form aerial roots. The tree gets its name from the dense, milky latex sap that was historically used to produce natural rubber. Hevea brasiliensis from South America is the rubber tree that is primarily used to commercially produce rubber. Grown as a houseplant, they will get 2 to 10 feet tall. Left unpruned, they tend to be tall and narrow. Pruning the main branches creates a bushier plant. Some of the cultivars available have variegated or burgundy foliage. Decora has ivory-colored veins running down the center of the wide reddish-green leaves. Dosheri is very pretty with its dark green leaves that have a creamy white margin and pink midribs and stalks. Another fancy variegated variety is tricolor, also sold as ruby. The new growth begins as a reddish pink. The vibrant leathery leaves are marked with patches of pink, creamy white, and green. Creeping fig. If you don't have room for a tree in your house, consider creeping fig, Ficus pumila. One of the smaller members of the ficus family, it is native to East Asia, where it grows as a vine or a ground cover in its natural habitat. Indoors, it stays smaller than its 15-foot-long wild counterparts. Suitable for a hanging basket, it can also be used as an annual in outdoor containers. If you want to try your hand at topiary, creeping fig is a good choice. The juvenile form has small heart-shaped leaves. As it matures, the leaves become more oval-shaped. Like other ficus members, the stems have a milky sap. Bellis is a lovely variety with a white leaf edge. Curly has small ruffled green leaves with contrasting lime green centers. Both have a medium growth rate. Variegata is a fast-growing vine with creamy white-edged, heart-shaped leaves. Tips for success. Some ficus can be challenging to grow as an indoor plant, while others make great houseplants. Check for a plant's specific needs before you bring it home. Just like outdoor plants, the right plant in the right place should thrive. Here are some general tips for growing ficus. Ficus plants need bright, indirect light. Direct exposure to sunlight can burn the leaves, causing leaves to drop. Keep that in mind if you give your plants a vacation outside next summer. Ficus plants like it warm. The best indoor temperature range is 70 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold damage can occur if temperatures drop below 60 degrees. Keep plants away from drafts or areas with fluctuations in temperatures, as this can trigger leaf drop. Generally, ficus can take a range of humidity levels, but for those coming from tropical areas, they would appreciate above to average humidity levels. You may need to humidify them in the winter as our houses get very dry. If the air is too dry, you will see leaves start to turn brown, especially along the edges. Use a rich, well-draining potting soil. Add orchid bark or perlite to improve drainage. Don't overwater ficus. Wait until the top 2 inches of soil is dry. Reduce watering in the winter. Creeping ficus is the exception, as it prefers a bit more moisture than its tree-like cousins. Use a balanced liquid fertilizer at half strength once a month during the growing season. Do not fertilize when growth slows in the fall and winter. Ficus should be repotted about every other year to keep them a manageable size. You'll know it's time when you see roots coming out of the drainage holes. Increase your container size by 1 to 2 inches larger in diameter. Too big of an increase can lead to root rot, as there will be too much water for the plant to use in the potting soil. Pruning can also keep the plant in check. The milky sap may drip after pruning. Carefully clean it up. If you have cats or dogs that like to chew or nibble on plants, it would be best not to bring home any of the Ficus genus. Many contain a milky sap. If eaten, your pet will likely have irritation of the mouth and suffer from gastrointestinal distress. Skin irritation is also possible for pets and people if the sap gets on the skin. Ingestion should not cause serious illness or death. Hours and programs. Have a gardening question? Master Gardener volunteers are in the office from 10 a.m. to noon on weekdays. You can stop in at our Cornell Cooperative Extension office at 420 East Main Street in Batavia, or call 585-343-3040, extension 127. Or you can email them at geneseemg@cornell.edu. From the sports section, here's a story titled, Bills Close Highmark Stadium in Style with Blowout of Jets. It's by Mike Rose from the BataviaNews.com. Orchard Park. The final regular season game at Highmark Stadium went out with a bang. The bang was not from the game itself, which the Buffalo Bills rolled to a 35-8 win over the New York Jets, but rather the celebration that began before the game even kicked off. The energy inside the stadium was palpable throughout, even with both teams rolling out mostly reserves from the onset. Bills quarterback Josh Allen started the game before exiting after one snap to extend his start streak to 122 games, the longest active streak in the NFL. The Jets didn't score until the 7:33 mark of the fourth quarter, behind an inspired performance from the Bills' reserves. Ty Johnson and Dawson Knox both cashed in with performance incentives, with Knox hitting his early on and Johnson having to work a little harder to get there late. The real festivities began down the stretch of the game. The final playing of Mr. Brightside, the final playing of the Shout song, and a post-game montage of some of the best moments in the stadium set to the Goo Goo Dolls' Iris. The speakers blared Born in the USA and What a Wonderful World to round out the postgame. Nearly every person in the building stayed through it all. Many stayed a little longer, soaking in the last moments they could of the historic venue. The fans truly ruled the night, even catching the attention of Bills head coach Sean McDermott during the game. I felt a little guilty at times looking up at the stands, he said. I'm supposed to be coaching. I guess I haven't done that a lot, just because you're so focused on trying to do your job. But when we got to a spot where, in the fourth quarter, after scoring, and we're getting our kickoff team ready, just taking a second or two to look up into the stands, people singing Mr. Brightside, I mean, come on, where else does that happen in the NFL, right? That type of togetherness, that type of fellowship, community, love of their team and of each other, I'll never forget. Special moment. The AFC title game could bring one final game to Highmark Stadium if the Bills meet the number 7 seed Los Angeles Chargers. But this was as fitting a send-off as the Bills could have asked for. Yeah, it was important, McDermott said of the send-off. I said it last week at the beginning of the week. This game was important to us. As an organization, it is important to me as a coach. It was important to us as a staff, important to the players. And I really appreciate them taking it that way in their approach. I think those last 3 victory kneels to end the game was probably like the coolest victory kneels I've been a part of, Bills quarterback Mitch Trubisky said. The fans were going nuts, kind of just soaking it all in. I thought it was really cool. And you just can't duplicate that. You can't, there's just so many memories and everything wrapped into the stadium. I think it just means a lot to everybody involved, and it was good to go out the way we did tonight. Trubisky enjoyed a standout night, playing every snap but the first. He was 22 of 29 for 259 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. One man who may not have gotten a chance to accumulate the milestones he would have liked was Bills running back James Cook. Cook finished the night atop the league in rushing yards with 1,621 yards. He only had 2 carries for 15 yards and finished 152 yards ahead of Baltimore Ravens running back Derrick Henry, who played on Sunday night. McDermott mentioned the original plan was for him to play a quarter before he opted to limit him further to prevent an injury ahead of the postseason. It would mean a lot, Cook said, of winning the rushing title, something that nobody in my family has done, something nobody here has done in a long time. So, it would be special. Cook ultimately held on, finishing 26 yards ahead of Henry to win the 2025-26 rushing crown. He became the first Buffalo Bill since O.J. Simpson in 1976 to win the rushing title. As for what the result on the field ultimately meant for the Bills moving forward, the win and a loss by the Los Angeles Chargers ended the night with the Bills at 12-5, locked into the number 6 seed in the AFC, and a road date with the number 3 seed Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 13-4, in the AFC wildcard round. The Bills do have some new injury concerns with kicker Matt Prater, right calf, and cornerback Maxwell Hairston, ankle, both leaving the game Sunday. Their status moving forward is yet to be determined. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. Sunday at Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Let's read from Dear Abby. Dear Abby, my wife's nephew is getting divorced. The process seems to be amicable. There was no cheating or abuse. They have 2 children. Even though the soon-to-be ex, Michelle, has always been welcoming and nice, my wife's family has circled the wagons. They no longer talk to her and have made clear I can't either. I don't think that's right. Michelle has done nothing wrong and has been cordial to us. My wife says to stay out of it and never contact her. I think that's immature. I realize my thoughts don't matter. However, I'm thinking about contacting Michelle to say I feel bad about being in that position and apologize. I think if I did, I'd feel better about myself and should know that everyone doesn't hate her. Should something happen to my wife's nephew, I would have some basis for connection to the children. What do you think? Signed, Navigating Change in Illinois. Dear Navigating, I think you are more mature than your wife's family. You are an adult and you should do what you feel is right. Dear Abby, my father left our family when I was in 6th grade. Because he had cheated on our mom numerous times, he was removed from his ministry and went into education. I tried to resolve my feelings with him, but he would never admit his faults. When I finally asked him to tell me the truth, he refused. I am now in my 60s and still angry at him. I have a wonderful wife and 2 beautiful kids he has never met. Before he dies, I'd like to tell him how I feel about him and ask him one more time to tell the truth. Is this worth the effort? He is 92, so I don't have much time. Signed, Angry Still in Pennsylvania. Dear Angry, your efforts will be better spent if you meet with your father and tell him you forgive him for his transgressions. Do this not for him, but for yourself, to free you from the burden of anger you have carried for all these years, and will continue to carry after his demise. Dear Abby, how does one approach, by phone, email, or in person, a couple, close friends of many years, whose husband is slipping into dementia? Do we acknowledge and commiserate, pretend nothing is amiss, stop communicating and seeing them, or what exactly? The profound tragedy is that the husband has been an intellectual and executive giant of immense quality, with abundant gifts and skills. Watching this slow-motion tragedy unfold is agonizing. Not knowing what to say or do compounds the pain. Signed, Delivering Painful News. Dear Delivering, social isolation is a killer. People in the early to middle stages of dementia are capable of being social. What you should continue to do is be the friend to this couple that you always have been, and take your guidance from the wife. She will appreciate your kindness and support during this difficult time. Let's look at the horoscope column. Emotional spontaneity will cost you this year. Think twice before you make a move. Keep your finances in order and live within your means. Focus on self-improvement and nurturing meaningful relationships. Practice makes perfect. Trust your instincts. For Capricorn, December 22nd through January 19th. Take pride in what you do. Sticking to the basics and setting a budget are necessary if you want to get ahead. Challenge yourself first before questioning others. Aquarius, January 20th through February 19th. Dream on, but when it comes to enforcing change, you're best off taking a wait-and-see approach. Your gestures will buy favors when you are in need yourself. Pisces, February 20th through March 20th. Spontaneity can lead to trouble. Don't make promises you can't deliver. Participate in groups or events that allow you to promote your beliefs or skills, and something good will come of it. Aries, March 21st, April 19th. Authenticity will help you bring about much-needed change. An opportunity is within reach, but it's up to you to set things off. Stop talking and start doing. Taurus, April 20th through May 20th. Keep up with technology and the latest upgrades in your field of service. Whether you are pursuing knowledge, working hard to earn a living, or are retired, it's important not to lose sight of your advancement. Gemini, May 21 through June 20th. You may crave change, but before making a bold move, consider the consequences. Emotions will lead you down the wrong path, offering less than you anticipate with little recourse. Cancer, June 21st through July 22nd. Take the plunge and adjust whatever isn't living up to your expectations. Set standards that make you feel proud and can help you reach your target. Leo, July 23rd through August 22nd. Be a leader and put your energy and effort into something that will benefit you. Refuse to get wrapped up in someone else's dreams or be talked into something you don't want or need. Virgo, August 23rd to September 22nd. Step up and make a difference. Your insight and ability to find solutions will give you the edge you need in competitive situations. Someone you encounter will pique your interest. Libra, September 23rd through October 23rd. Keep a close watch, note what others are doing, and put your energy where it matters most. Consider what you need to know or learn in order to do your best. Scorpio, October 24th, November 22nd. A level head and an open mind will help you navigate your way through sticky situations. Time and money are essential. Wasting either will put you in a precarious position. Sagittarius, November 23rd, December 21st. Trust yourself, not what others tell you. Say no to people offering the impossible or making empty promises. Taking on a minimalist lifestyle will ease your mind and give you more time to do what you enjoy most. There's a death notice for James A. Keller. James A. Keller of Bergen was born on October 13th, 1937, and passed away in his sleep at 2 p.m. on December 31st, 2025, at United Memorial Medical Center. He was preceded in death by his parents, Viola and Andrew Keller, son John, and wife Wilda. He is survived by his sons, Vincent and Scott, and their children, and stepsons Gary, Greg, Mike, and Dennis, and their children. Services and a celebration of life will be scheduled later in the year. To leave a condolence, visit www.bataviafuneralhomes.com. Arrangements are under the care of the H.E. Turner and Company Funeral Home of Bergen. Let's look at a couple of comic strips. First, Classic Peanuts. Snoopy and Woodstock are sitting on top of Snoopy's doghouse. Snoopy says, "I know you're lonely. I still think you should get out more, and I think you should mix with your own kind. Why don't you get a few birds of a feather and flock together? Woodstock gives Snoopy a dirty look. Snoopy rolls his eyes and says, "It was just a suggestion." And Garfield. Garfield is walking through the house saying, "Brr, another cold winter day." And then he plops down under the window where the sun is shining in, looks content, and says, "Sunbeam to the rescue." And finally, Dark Side of the Horse strip. Little bird is flying up to the horse, and the bird says, "I haven't seen you all day." Horse says, "I got hungry. I went to this 24-hour breakfast place, but I got bored after 12 hours. And finally, Pickles. Lady's sitting in the chair on the phone saying, "Emily, would you mind picking up Nelson from his piano lesson for me? I'd do it myself, but I've got COL, you know, cat on lap." And Emily says, "Oh, sorry, I can't. I've got MCOL." And then you can see her, and she's got a bunch of cats on her lap. And she says, "You know, multiple cats on lap." You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the January 6, 2026 issue of the Batavia Daily News. We read from the Batavia Daily News every Saturday at 9 a.m. Your reader has been Jim Michaely. Thanks for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the East Aurora Advertiser. At 11 o'clock, we have the Niagara Gazette. And at noon, we have the Dunkirk Observer. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. Radio Reading mails out a large print program schedule to our listeners every other month. If you have not received a Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service large print program schedule in the mail, please call us at 716-821-5555. We will make sure that you receive one every other month. A Braille version of the schedule is also available upon request. Our number again is 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision,